Hi, I'm Elaine Harding. Welcome to my blog at stampwithelaine.com and welcome to Fun Fridays project. Last Sunday I posted this flip-flap shutter mechanism card and I promised that I'd show you how to make it this week. We're going to be using the Welcoming Window bundle and you'll find it on page 58 of the January to June 2021 mini catalogue. This is the card we're making and it opens and shuts like that. This is the stamp set and it's bundled with the window flower box dies. These don't have matching stamped images, but the dies are textured so it will incorporate the wood grain into the window frame and the shutters and the window box. And these two dies will cut out these floral images. And then you've got the flower pots, a picture, the shutters here. It will cut that out. And that's for the window box. The dies we're going to be using from this set are the two floral ones. The inks I'm using are Sahara Sand, Blushing Bride, Seaside Spray and Soft Sea Foam. Blushing Bride metallic ribbon. The Stamparatus with my stamps mounted on it. Some spare basic white cardstock. I haven't converted this to metric. I'm only doing it in imperial. So you need 3 pieces in Sahara Sand, cut at 5 7/8 by 4 1/8. Now you need 2 frames like this, so it's got a 5/8 inch border all round. So this one I'll show you how to cut it, and then this one is for the back of the card here. And this is for the frame, which is a double frame, so that it will sandwich the ribbon on this side and it won't show. You also need the Sand and Sea Designer Series paper. I've cut this at 5 3/4 by 4 inches, and you need to cut a 1/2 inch frame all round. To make the shutters you need 3 pieces. I'll show you how to score those. So these are cut at 2 1/8 by 4 1/8. And then on the end piece here you cut a U shape, so it's like a C, inverted C, and that will help sandwich the ribbon here at the end. Then you need 3 pieces of Sand and Sea Designer Series paper to match the frame, and you glue that to the inside panels here in between. And these have been cut at 1 1/2 inches by 4 1/8 inches. Lastly, you're going to stamp this as a whole and then cut them down to size into 3 equal panels. So these 2 pieces measure 4 1/2 by 2 7/8 inches. First I'm going to cut the frame 5/8 inches, and you're cutting from 5/8 inches down to 5 1/8 inches, okay? And then rotate it 180 degrees and cut this side also at 5/8 inches down to 5 1/8 inches. So this is 5 1/8. So I'm going to move it up and cut it to 5/8 up here. Then next you want to cut in between these 2 lines, the cut lines. So line it up again at the 5/8 inch mark, so scoot it over 1/8 of an inch past the 1/2 inch mark. Line up your cutting blade and cut in between these 2 cut lines. Rotate it 180 degrees to the opposite side and do the same. So 1/2 inch and then 5/8 inches and cut between those 2 lines. You want to keep this piece because you're going to stamp and cut your labels out from the inside of this piece, okay? So I'm going to just pop a little bit of tape there for my ribbon. Cut a little bit, that's say about 1.5 inches. So I've removed the tape and I put that in the middle to keep that ribbon down. Now I've put double-sided tape on the outer rim of the bottom frame, and this one is to go on top, and I've put the double-sided tape on the inner side of the frame on the top one. So first I'm going to release these tabs so I can pull on it. Marry up your frame, okay, so pull on the inner tabs and then the outer tabs. So that's your frame done, and set aside that ribbon because that ribbon goes on the back piece. Now take the Sand and Sea piece, and you only want to cut a 1/2 inch border, so it goes across there. That's 3.5 inches. Cut up to 1/2 inch. Rotate it 180 degrees, 1/2 inch. Down to 3.5 inches, and then you just cut between these two lines, so 1/2 inch. For this one I will put glue on it because it's easier then. Now with the short side on top, you again want to cut at 5/8 inches border. So this is 5/8 inches to the right of the cutting groove. 5/8 inches down to 3.5 inches. So let's cut from 3.5 inches to 5/8 inches. Then with the long side on top, you again 5/8 inches, and just put your blade at the 5/8 inch mark and cut down. Scoot it along 5/8 inches. And cut away. So that's your U shape. Bring in the scoreboard, and for the 2 1/8 inch by 4 1/8 inch pieces, the 3 remaining ones, you have to score at 5/8 inches all the way down. Then with the long side on top, you score at 5/8 inches on each end. Take that and score 5/8 inches. The side where it hasn't got the 5/8 inch score line, you want to partially score the tab up here, and from 5/8 inches, I'll show you, 5/8 inches down to the score line. Take your stylus at the 5/8 inches, run it down your scoreboard, and then score from the bottom up 5/8 inches to the next score line. Okay, so you end up with a piece that looks like this. Now with the long score line facing you, the long side facing you, you cut up to the next score line on the 2 corner flaps. Okay, and keep that straight, but you just want to take a little wedge out of the flap. Rotate it 180 degrees and cut the opposite corner straight up until this first score line here, and again take a wedge out of it. on the flap, from the flap side. Okay, so it should look like this at the next stage. So now you have 3 pieces cut in that way. Fold the flap back, okay, you've got 1 score line there. You want to cut that tab away. So this is your shutter mechanism. Alright. Should have reinforced the flaps. Now we're ready to adhere the shutter mechanism to the card base. So you want the ones where the gap has been cut out, and you've already reinforced it. So apply adhesive on the end flaps here, and line up the end flaps with the edge of the card. Okay, and you do the same with these bits, the next one along. Yeah, you butt it up to that card, fold these back and flap that one down. So you want them flush with this piece here, the piece that you just glued down before. Okay, so bend those back, and then these, apply your adhesive. Butt it up to the previous one, bend those flaps back and put that one down. Alright, before you put this piece on, you have to put the ribbon on. The double-sided tape, cut a piece of tape and put it along the middle there on the card base and lift that up, and then put your ribbon on and make sure it's the same height as the one you did previously. So grab the one that I did before and put it on there to make sure it's the same height. I've put my ribbon down. I'll move this flap out of the way, remove the tape from this, marry it up with the edges on here, and then remove the tape. So we'll set that aside, and now we're going to create our scene. Bring in my Stamparatus, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment first. Then I'm going to stamp the soft sea foam with the leaves. I need 2 of those. So I'm going to do a bit of hinge stamping. So I'll move that down and stamp again. Ink the flowers with Blushing Bride. So next we want to stamp our window scene. And we now want to stamp our shutters. So I'm going to remove them and place them on here. Pick the stamp up. I'm going to swap cards and swap ink pads so I don't have to move the stamp again. the plate over, so I can now stamp the main window. Switch plate back and reposition the window to this side. Damp it in Seaside spray. Swap ink pads and swap seams. Stamp the window box now, which I've mounted on a block, and centre it. Do the same for this one. Now I'm going to stamp the brickwork. And I'll repeat it for this one. Now I'm going to cut the flowers with these dies, and I'll do it off camera and I'll be back. Now I've die cut my pieces, I can glue them into my window box. Now we're at the final straight. So now you want to cut this 1.5 inch intervals, because this measures 4.5. 1.5. 1.5. This is my third attempt. The first one I cut wrong, so then I made another one and I cut the paper the wrong size, so I ended up with it being short as well. So this is number 3. Hopefully all will be well. Hooray! Now we need to glue these to this panel here. And make sure they're flush and not sticking out anywhere. This is when Tombow is the best for jobs like this, because you've got a bit of wiggle room. Then flip it over to the other side. And we'll glue those down as well. So now that your front and your back has been glued down, take these pieces and glue these in between. You want to make sure that this flap is still free. You don't want to accidentally glue these on top. For the last panel, make sure you glue it so that it covers up that gap there. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you have a gap here, but you don't want a gap where the frame is holding the ribbon. So now you're ready to assemble the top. So bend these back, these flaps back, and put glue on them. Now carefully place this frame so that it's flush with the frame below, and this ribbon, make sure that's on the left hand side. So these flaps should be down, and you want this frame to be square with the base of the card. So just hold it there for a second for it to bond. And then there's your card finished. You can put a piece back here to write your sentiment with. The last thing to do is do the sentiment for the card, and I want this fairly narrow. Is when you put it, gluing your sentiment down, have the card on the blue side, because if you glue the sentiment right to the edge you won't see that. So this has to be open. Let's put a block there so it stays down. I'm going to angle my letter, wishing our paths crossed. Crossed is on its own. I'm going to cut straight up. A little is 2 words. And more often. So put a bit of adhesive on the back. It's best to use your tweezers for a job like this. I'm going to put this a little bit spaced apart. And I also want to trim this down. Pop it on the front here. Now you notice that everything is flat on this one. I suppose you could put some jewels if you want to, but I won't. So voila, that's how you make a flip-flap shutter mechanism card. When it's closed, then the frame is together. When it's open, then it's slightly to the right. But I put the ribbons there so people know that it's interactive, that you need to pull it. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. All the supplies to the links I've used is below this video in the show more section, or if you'd like to read more about it you can visit my blog. The links are all below. Thanks for watching. Bye.